It's not just history. Today, you relied on at least 3 inventions shaped by enslaved Black Americans, probably without realizing. The traffic you stopped for, the shirt you pressed, the crops that filled your plate, all of those were powered by stolen genius. America's everyday conveniences were built with brilliance from people denied every right, yet their names are missing from the story. How did their ideas survive erasure, and what else has been hidden beneath the official version? In 1857, on a plantation in Pike County, Mississippi, a single document surfaced that cut through centuries of denial. Its language is plain, almost clinical, but what it contains cannot be mistaken. An affidavit, sworn before witnesses, names an enslaved man called Ned as the inventor of a new kind of cotton scraper. The paper bears the signature of Oscar J. E. Stewart, Ned's owner, and describes a mechanical breakthrough, a plow that could scrape and till cotton rows at once, letting one person do twice the work with half the usual horsepower. For a region where cotton ruled every life, this was nothing short of revolutionary. The affidavit states the arrangement in stark terms. The master is the owner of the fruits of the labor of the slave, both intellectual and manual. Ned's name is present, but not as a free man or a citizen. He is listed as property, his invention treated as another asset in Stewart's growing ledger. Yet the details of the device are clear. It is Ned's mind, not Stewart's, that solved the problem of labor and yield. The scraper's design allowed for simultaneous plowing and scraping, a feat that cut the grueling workday in half and transformed the pace of planting season. Stewart wasted no time, sending the affidavit to Washington and seeking a patent for himself. The patent office, however, refused. No matter how ingenious Ned's scraper, the law would not recognize a slave as an inventor, nor a master as the true creator of another man's idea. Ned's invention spread by word of mouth and by profit. Stewart advertised the scraper as the brainchild of a Negro slave, using it as both a selling point and a taunt to abolitionists. The device itself, simple, rugged, effective, became a fixture on plantations across the Delta. Its influence endures in the row crop cultivators and planters that drive modern agriculture, the same fundamental principle at work in today's mechanized fields. Yet Ned's name, and the proof of his genius, lived only in the fine print of a legal document, hidden in archives while the machine changed the world above ground. The story of Ned and his cotton scraper is not just a tale of invention, but of a mind forced to work in the shadows, leaving behind evidence too solid to erase. In the rolling hills of Virginia, the story of the mechanical reaper is often retold as a singular triumph of American ingenuity. The name most people remember is Cyrus McCormick, who patented his reaper in 1834 and built a fortune that would help feed a nation. Yet, within the quiet corners of family lore and oral tradition, another name lingers: Joe Anderson, an enslaved blacksmith who worked alongside McCormick at Walnut Grove Farm. The reaper's success depended on years of trial and error, long nights in the workshop, and the hands of men whose names rarely made it into the company records. For decades, popular histories and even some McCormick family pamphlets have credited Anderson with key improvements to the reaper's design. Stories claim he helped solve problems with the cutting mechanism and gear assembly, making the machine reliable enough for mass production. But when historians search for proof, ledgers, patent filings, workshop diaries, they find only silence. The McCormick papers at Washington and Lee University, the Rockbridge County Courthouse records, and even the journals of the farm's overseers mention enslaved laborers, but never Joe Anderson by name, never as an inventor. This absence is not an accident. In the antebellum South, enslaved people had no legal right to their own ideas. The 1793 Patent Act required an oath of citizenship, an impossibility for someone considered property. Even if a breakthrough like Anderson's occurred, the law ensured it would pass unrecorded. buried in the daily business of the plantation. The story of Joe Anderson survives because it was passed down by word of mouth, a whispered rebuttal to the official narrative. It is not a matter of invention lost, but of credit denied, systematically and by design. The mechanical reaper, now the ancestor of every combine harvester rolling across America's fields, carries within its gears the invisible labor of men like Anderson. Their genius persists, even as the archive remains mute. Today, the debate over Anderson's role is a cautionary tale about the limits of the historical record. Without signatures, patents, or diaries, the contributions of enslaved inventors risk vanishing altogether, leaving only the faintest trace in the margins of history. Yet, every modern harvester that sweeps through golden wheat is, in part, a testament to the minds whose names we may never know. On the banks of the Mississippi River, a young man named Benjamin Montgomery was known for his restless mind. Born into slavery in 1819, Montgomery was put to work on Joseph Davis's sprawling hurricane plantation, where he quickly became indispensable, not just for his labor, but for his mechanical skill. The plantation depended on steamboats to move cotton and supplies up and down the river, but every year low water stranded boats for weeks, choking off trade and threatening the plantation's profits. Montgomery studied the problem with the eye of an engineer. Paddle wheels, the standard for riverboats, were heavy and clumsy in the shallow, shifting waters of the Mississippi. He began sketching a new kind of propeller, one that could cut through shallow currents at different angles, keeping boats moving even when the river dropped. His quiet, determined genius changed the way people imagined river travel. In 1858, Joseph Davis took Montgomery's design and filed for a patent in his name. The application described a steam-powered propeller, lighter and more efficient than anything then in use, able to lift and adjust its angle to avoid riverbed snags. The patent office replied with a single devastating fact. Montgomery's status as an enslaved man barred him from holding a patent. Davis tried again, this time listing himself as the inventor. The answer was the same. The law recognized only the true inventor, but refused to grant that title to a man considered property. The injustice at the heart of the patent system is hard to overstate. Montgomery's correspondence with Davis survives in fragments, revealing a mind preoccupied with the mechanics of motion and the challenge of shallow water. He wrote of increasing the edge of the propeller and of adjusting the blade's tilt for greater purchase in slack current. No blueprint or prototype remains, but plantation records confirm Montgomery's role overseeing the blacksmith shop and river operations. His design was never patented, but the principle lives on in every shallow draft propeller that pushes riverboats today. The modern barge, slicing through the silt-heavy Mississippi, owes its path to a man who was denied the right to call his idea his own. Montgomery's story is not just about invention, but about the quiet persistence of genius in a world determined to ignore it. At Thomas Jefferson's Monticello estate, the ruins of the nailery sit quiet among the Virginia woods. Beneath the surface, the ground still holds the imprint of a different kind of American ingenuity that never made it into textbooks. In the late 18th and early 19th centuries, enslaved boys and young men were trained here as nail makers, working from dawn until exhaustion in a workshop that churned out tens of thousands of iron nails every year. Their names, John Hemmings, Burwell Colbert, and others, rarely appeared in Jefferson's letters, but their skill was vital to the plantation's economy. Archaeologists have spent decades sifting through the Monticello nailery's slag heaps and workshop debris. What they have uncovered are not just scraps of iron, but the fingerprints of a hidden tradition of technical mastery. Tool impressions pressed into the earth reveal custom jigs and clamps, devices designed and built by enslaved craftsmen to speed production and reduce mistakes. The nailery's output was staggering for its time. Records from 1794 show more than 10,000 nails produced in a single month, with some years topping 100,000. Each nail carried the mark of a hand forced to work, and also a mind that learned to solve problems on the fly. The Monticello nailery was more than a factory. It was a training ground where skills passed from older blacksmiths to young apprentices, building a lineage of mechanical knowledge that would ripple through generations. Even without blueprints or patents, the evidence lies in the tools themselves. Archaeologists have found molds for shaping heads and points, specialized tongs, and anvils worn smooth by years of use. These were not off-the-shelf items. They were adapted, repaired, and improved by the people who relied on them. While Jefferson's own writings credit the profits to his management, the real innovation happened at the forge. The nailery's craftsmen learned to stretch iron, judge heat by color, and improvise repairs with whatever scraps were at hand. Their techniques, passed down in whispers and muscle memory, formed the backbone of early American manufacturing even as their stories faded from the written record. Today, every box of nails at a hardware store carries an echo of their labor. Modern nail production uses machines that automate what enslaved craftsmen once did by hand, but the basic process, heating, shaping, striking, remains unchanged. The Monticello nailery stands as material proof that even in the absence of patents or signatures, the ingenuity of enslaved Americans is etched into the very fabric of the nation's infrastructure. In the spring of 1892, a woman named Sarah Boone walked into the U.S. Patent Office with a design that would quietly transform how Americans cared for their clothes. Boone, born enslaved in North Carolina, had spent decades as a dressmaker, first under bondage, then as a free woman after the Civil War. Her hands knew every challenge of pressing a garment smooth, especially the fitted sleeves and curved seams that defined women's fashion at the turn of the century. What she brought that day was not just a tool, but a solution born from years of skilled labor, an ironing board shaped to fit the human body. Patent number 473,653 carries her name. The paperwork describes a narrow, curved board, hinged to allow a sleeve or bodice to be slipped on and pressed without leaving creases or folds. Unlike the flat planks used before, Boone's board could rotate and adjust, making it possible to iron the contours of a dress or shirt with far greater precision. For tailors and home seamstresses alike, the improvement was immediate and obvious. Fewer wrinkles, sharper lines, and garments that looked professionally finished even when made at home. Boone's invention was more than a technical fix, it was a declaration. For the first time, a black woman, once denied the right to read or write, held formal credit for an idea that would touch millions of lives. The Patent Office record is brief, but the impact is lasting. Every time a sleeve board slides through a shirt, or a curved surface smooths out a stubborn crease, Boone's legacy is at work. Her design bridged the gap between the skills passed down in slavery and the legal recognition granted in freedom. The 1892 patent stands as quiet proof that genius could not be contained, even by generations of erasure. Boone's board is still the standard in homes and laundries across the country, a testament to the persistence of craft and to the possibility of being seen at last as an inventor in one's own right. In the United States before 1865, the machinery of law was built to keep black inventors invisible. The Patent Act required every applicant to swear an oath of citizenship, a demand that excluded anyone enslaved, no matter their genius. In 1858, the Attorney General ruled that patents would not be given for slave inventions, neither to master nor to slave. This legal wall was not just a technicality, it was a deliberate barrier designed to keep black minds from ever owning the fruits of their labor. Even after emancipation, the system found new ways to shut out black inventors. The cost to file a patent, $35, was more than a month's wages for most freed people. Literacy tests and bureaucratic hurdles made the process even harder. Patent applications from black inventors went missing, were rejected, or were quietly lost in the stacks. Some managed to break through, like Elijah McCoy, who worked odd jobs to afford his first patent fee, and Sarah Boone, whose persistence brought her ironing board design to official recognition. But for every name recorded, dozens slipped through the cracks, ideas borrowed, stolen, or simply erased. In the early 20th century, a quiet resistance began inside the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Henry E. Baker, one of the first black clerks at the office, started keeping a ledger of every black inventor he could find. His handwritten list, painstakingly compiled over decades, became an unofficial record of black invention, a counter-archive to the official silence. Baker's work revealed 1,500 patents granted to black Americans between the 1870s and World War I, a fraction of those truly deserved. Many of these inventors remain nameless, their stories scattered in lost applications and oral histories. Today, the search for stolen genius continues, but the tools have changed. Digital archives and crowdsourced databases are piecing together fragments from plantation records, court filings, and family Bibles. Historians, archivists, and programmers are using algorithms to scan millions of patents for clues, names, addresses, signatures that hint at erased identities. In 2023, researchers at the University of Southern California used artificial intelligence to match 15 Reconstruction-era patent applications to inventions later credited to white owners. Their findings reignited debates over how much American innovation was built on ideas taken in silence. The evidence is everywhere, hidden in ledgers and legal opinions, in the gaps where black inventors' names should be. The theft was systematic, a denial not just of wealth, but of memory itself. Yet the story is not only about loss. Every rediscovered patent, every inventor's name restored to the record, is a small act of justice. The work continues as new generations refuse to let these stories remain buried. The question now is not whether black genius shaped America, but how much more waits to be recovered, and who will claim the credit at last. Even now, school textbooks rarely name these inventors. That is proof that erasure is not just history, it is policy. As AI and archivists race to reclaim lost credit, the struggle for recognition moves from the fields to the algorithms. Genius denied a name is genius denied a future. Until every creator is named, America's story remains unfinished. What names are still missing from the inventions you use today? Share your thoughts in the comments.